Good morning, everybody. I'm here to help talk today about something that can be a very important thing for new car owners. If you are the owner of your very first car, you probably have a few questions about it. Primarily, what do I do with this thing? How do I take care of it? What things should I look for? I mean, there's all this stuff that people tell me about the tires, the oil, the windshield wiper fluid, and all that kind of stuff. How do I know what to do and how to take care of this? What should I look for? These are some simple items that you can do to help make sure you know what you're doing with your car, how to take care of it, and what to even look for. And there's not as much as you would think, and it's not as complex as you would think. This video is geared primarily toward that first car owner, your teenager or young adult especially, that's entering into the world of being able to drive themselves to places, go to school, go to work, visit with their friends and do things that they enjoy doing, beach days, shopping days, whatever it happens to be. Have a little bit of freedom to go do their own thing and, learn how to be adults like the rest of us. Um, which isn't the greatest thing, guys, but there are some things that you need to do as a first-time car owner to be able to take care of your car. Now, whether it's something like this that I got for my youngest daughter a couple of years ago before prices on used cars skyrocketed, I got this for a couple of $1,000s. It's a 2004 Toyota Matrix with currently 230,000 miles on it. It needed a few items repaired, so I, being capable of fixing them, did the work myself and saved a good bit of work. Didn't spend that much money and have a very reliable car. It so far runs like a Swiss watch and gets, on average, last fill up 28.4 miles per gallon, which with the cost of gas these days is massive. My car is a 2015 Volvo S60, which I absolutely love. And we have friends that have just gotten their licenses recently that have gotten newer cars as well. They're not as mechanically inclined, so they went with something a little bit newer, $12,000 to $18,000 range. Decided to get something that had some warranty left on it, or something that was new enough with low mileage that they knew they would have something safe to drive and reliable for a good bit of time. They also have the same questions. It might be a bit newer than this one. How do I take care of this car? What to do? So let's go down through our list here and see what should you do with your car. What are the things to look for? My number one item may seem the simplest of all, but it's keep it clean. Inside and outside. Not only if you keep it clean, is it easier to maintain and keep clean, it also looks better, makes you feel better about the vehicle, and if you decide to get rid of it, it's easier to resell it and you'll get more for it. I highly, highly, highly recommend hand washing too. I know the habit these days is for people to go out to the super mega car washes and get a package deal and all that kind of stuff and just drive it through the car wash, and that's great, but you're going to spend a whole lot more doing that, and you're not going to stay in tune with what's going on with your vehicle. Now, in the winter months, we live in Southwest Michigan where I'm at. You can't get out in your driveway with a hose and a bucket and wash your car. So you have to take it through a car wash to get road salt and things like that off of it. And I do recommend doing that at least every 3 to 4 weeks during the winter when it's snowing, to keep the salt off the underside of the vehicle and to remove anything that could help add to corrosion. But during the summer, go get yourself a car wash kit. You can go to Walmart. I've been to Lowe's and Home Depot and places like that, wherever, and you can get these buckets with car wash, rags, and everything. If you don't want to get a kit, buy the parts individually. I've got a gallon of Meguiar's wash and wax that I've been using for 4 years now, because a little bit goes a long way. You don't need 2 cups of car wash, just a small amount in there to make some suds to get it clean. Just like anything else, you don't use half a bottle of shampoo, you just use enough to wash your hair. These things will last forever. You get some rags, you go to the dollar store and get some rags, you go to the dollar store and get a bucket, little things like that, and you've got something that will last you a very long time for very little money. And if you hand wash it, you can look over and touch every part of that vehicle, and you'll instantly know, has something happened to this vehicle? Has somebody backed into it? Is there something loose on it? Is there a headlight or a tail light or something that's got a crack in it and letting water in it? You'll know if you're touching the vehicle, if you can see it close up. And washing it doesn't take long. I can have this car if I'm in a hurry. I can get everything together, wash it, wax it, and just towel dry it real quick. Just something to knock most of the water off in 15 minutes or less. So it doesn't take that much. Driving to the place to wash it is probably going to take you that long at least. Vacuum the inside. Use leather protector on anything that's leather, or Armor All, especially on dash areas and stuff that get full sun, because it'll keep it from cracking and things like that. Get yourself one of those cheap sun shields that go over your windshield, and in the summer use those. You open them up and then take your visors and pop them down to hold it in place. There's nothing fancy to them. You can get those things for like $3, and they'll also keep the inside of the car from getting nearly as hot. When you grab a steering wheel and you come away with marks on your hands because it's so hot, that's no fun. $3 and you can avoid that. Keep your windows clean, inside and outside, especially the inside of your back window and your windshield. And the back window inside gets ignored a lot. Keep it clean. It's easier to keep clean the next time around. So, number one item, keep it clean. You can learn a lot about your car and its condition just from that. Now on to some of the other stuff. Check your oil. If you've got an older vehicle especially, check the oil and change it regularly. The car oil change places will give you a sticker that always says every 3,000 miles. Some of your newer vehicles have an internal timer on them that I've seen go 7,500 miles. My Volvo is 10,000, and I've seen some of the newer ones go 20,000 miles. Whatever is most comfortable to you, but I choose to change the oil every 5,000 miles. That's a good spot, and it's always seemed to be a very safe spot. And an oil change is pretty cheap. If you have the ability to do it yourself, I highly recommend doing it yourself, because you can control the type of filter and the type of oil going into it. Otherwise, make sure you change it. Check it every 5,000 miles, or every month or so as well. Newer cars maybe once a month. Older cars maybe more often. This one, like I said, has 230,000 miles on it, and between oil changes it doesn't lose a drop of oil. But still, every couple of weeks I'll check it just in case, because it is an older car. Now, caveat to that, some of your newer cars do not have a dipstick. You can't check the oil. There's something on your dash. You go check your oil level through your instrument cluster. My newer car has that. I'm not crazy about that. I like a dipstick. Learn what they look like and where they're located. I'm going to go pop the hood on this one, and we'll show you real quick what to look for. Alright, here it is underneath the hood of this Toyota, and most of the time you will have something like this, and this is labeled engine oil on it. You see another thing over here that looks different, that is transmission fluid. Most of the time you don't need to check that unless you've got a weird car with transmission issues. But right here, if I pull this out, I can see my oil level. And this is going to be a bit misleading because I'm on an incline, but you have markers, a low and a high spot, and your oil should be somewhere between that. Mine is reading low right now because I'm on an incline. The oil is reading, the dipstick is at the front of the engine, and it's slanting back, so all the oil is sloshed to the back of the engine right now. So a little misleading, which is another thing. Check it on a flat surface, and when you know it's right, if you park normally on a slanted surface, if that's where you always park, once you know it's level, it's at the right level on a flat surface, park it on the other one, wait 5 minutes after you shut the engine off, check it and see what it looks like there as well. That way you know what it looks like on that uneven surface, and you'll be able to tell if you're going to have problems. Other things to know here are your windshield wiper fluid. There's power steering fluid, it is labeled. There is brake fluid. These all have lines on them where your maximum and minimum amount should be. So generally, if you just look at those real quick and see something that's out of sorts, you can take it into somebody that can look at it. And the windshield wiper fluid is easy. You just fill it up with fluid. You don't want to use straight water. Straight water actually has a corrosive effect and can wear out the motors in the windshield washer pump, which this one, you know, are down here where the pump sits in the side of the cavity for the underneath the headlight, basically. The windshield wiper fluid has a lubricating property, and it has an antifreeze so it doesn't freeze up during the winter. So check your oil, keep it changed every 5,000 miles. That is the cheapest, easiest way to make sure that this engine will last as long as you want it to. This engine, 230,000 miles, runs perfectly because the oil has always been changed with good quality oil. And we can get into a discussion about the quality of the oil, but as long as you're getting something that has all the certifications on it these days and changing it regularly, that's probably going to get you by. Use whatever your manufacturer recommends if you're under warranty especially. Otherwise, you can void the warranty on the engine. Okay, so we've yapped on a lot so far about taking care of your car, and we've only covered a couple of things. Keeping it clean and checking the oil. Those are what I consider to be a couple of the biggest things, though. Checking your oil will make sure your engine lasts, and keeping it clean lets you stay in contact with what's going on with the vehicle. So let's move through the other stuff. Your tires. Check your tire pressure and tire wear. Get a tire gauge, learn how to use it. Make sure your tires are properly aired up. If you overinflate them, the tires can bulge out. Instead of sitting flat, they can bulge out, and they can wear too much in the center of the tire, which can cause them to do funny things. If you underinflate them, then the tire is going to get wobbly like a balloon or something. Instead of riding on a firm rubber donut, basically, it's going to be like riding on a balloon, and the tire is going to wear out quickly, and it's going to cause you to get really crappy gas mileage too. And currently at $4 to $5 a gallon, every bit helps. And having your tires underinflated by 5 pounds can cause you to drop your fuel mileage by sometimes 15-20% or more. So it's significant. Make sure you keep the tires aired up. Tire gauge is super cheap. Some places will give you one if you ask for them. Watch for the wear on the tires. On your tread, there's depth. Like if you look at your tires, it's like you got your grooves and your high spots and stuff. Across the tire, that should wear out evenly from side to side. If you see this side is worn out more than this side, then your tires, there's something wrong. A lot of the time your tires are going to be misaligned. If your tires are pointed out like this, then you'll see the inside edges of the tire wear out faster than the outside. If your tires are pointed inside, then the outside edges will wear, and you know you probably need an alignment or there are other front end issues. Take it in. It's going to cost you 90 to 100 bucks for an alignment, but that's cheaper than one tire a lot of the time. And it'll make your tire, it can make the difference in your tires lasting 1 year or 5 or 6 years. Huge when you have to replace both tires on the front and you're spending 300 bucks plus to do it. Maybe more because of the mounting cost. Even cheap tires, you're going to spend at least a couple $100 to replace both of them. $100 alignment will prevent you from having to go through that, so definitely keep track. At least once a year, maybe more often depending on how you drive, rotate your tires. And a simple front to back, changing the front one to the back one and the back one to the front one, as long as your tire sizes and types are the same. Some newer cars, especially sporty ones, the back tires are bigger than the front ones, so you can't do that. They are only supposed to be in that one spot and never be rotated, so be careful about that. Know your vehicle. If you've got a sporty car, you may not be able to rotate your tires. Some tires also are directional, which means they can only point one direction. And if you rotate side to side, you change them so that they're pointing in the wrong direction. So you got to be careful about that too. That's why I generally only rotate front to back. From time to time, turn that radio off. Listen to the sounds that the car makes. Don't ignore clunks when you drive, when you turn, when you go over bumps, things like that. They can indicate worn suspension or steering components that can be dangerous if you ignore them. Learn the sounds that your car makes when it's happy and healthy, so when those sounds change, you'll know it and know to have somebody take a look at it. Find a friend who's a mechanic or some really good with cars as well that can listen to it and say, oh, that's no big deal, that's just this or whatever. Or tell you that, yes, you need to address this and you need to do it quickly. Another thing you don't want to ignore is any kind of lights on your dash that indicate a problem, like a check engine light, low coolant, low oil, anything like that. If you get a low coolant or low oil, pull off immediately. If your car overheats, you can cause that engine excessive wear and destroy it. Even worse, if you run that car out of oil. Oil is what lubricates these moving parts that are, you have explosions of fuel going on inside your cylinders several thousand times per minute. It creates a massive amount of heat. These parts are moving back and forth thousands of times per minute. Creates a lot of friction. Oil keeps them from wearing against each other. When you run out of oil, they wear against each other, and it only takes minutes for an engine to be completely destroyed. So if you get one of these warnings, stop the car immediately and find out what's going on. If you have a check engine light, pull off as soon as you can. Find out what that light means. A lot of places like AutoZone and other places will plug in a diagnostics unit and read it for free. You can get those hand scanners I've seen them for 20 or 25 bucks now, that will give you that code for your check engine light, and then you can look that code up on the internet to see if it's anything that you need to ignore, or something you can fix later, or something you need to address now. Now, if you do have low coolant or low oil warnings, and you have a car that is prone to, like, you've got a leaking radiator or something, get it fixed. Keep extra coolant with you until you can get it fixed, so when it does give you the warning, you can fill it up. Oil, if you've got a car that's higher mileage that uses oil or leaks oil, keep oil with you so you can fill it up if you get a message, or if you are out somewhere, you check your oil dipstick and you see that it's low, you can fill it up. You will keep that car running a lot longer, because if you run it in these low coolant or low oil conditions, you will destroy the engine. Then you have no car. So something very big to keep track of. Oil is cheaper than an engine. Yeah, oil's expensive these days too. A quart of oil is going to cost you $5 or $6 sometimes. And if it leaks a lot, go find the cheapest that you can get, because you're going to run it out quickly anyway. And even the cheap oil has to meet certain standards, and it's still going to be cheaper than replacing an engine. Wipers and fluids. Keep your wipers replaced. If you live in an area where you have snow, you can get wipers that are actually made for snow, and they'll help keep your windshield cleared so you can see better. And keep your windshield washer full. It can help de-ice your windshield during the winter, and keep it clean so that you can see during the summer. Something super simple there. Windshield wipers are usually pretty cheap, comparatively. They usually last 2 or 3 years if you get really good ones. So, you know, a $20 wiper might sound expensive, but you only have to do it every 2, 3 years. So, and you might not have to replace both at once. That sometimes they have a tendency to wear at different rates for some reason. Maybe if one side travels further than the other or something, it'll wear out quicker. So, you know, maybe you can just do the driver's side now on the other one a couple of months from now. Brakes, another huge item. If you feel your car braking funny, like there's a pulsing, or if you hear a grinding sound or a squeak, get it looked at. Squeak usually indicates your brakes are getting close to the point where they need to be replaced. There's usually, on a lot of cars, there's little tabs that as your brake pads wear out, they're designed to wear out. The tabs will start coming closer and closer to the little disc that the pads press up against, and when it starts touching that tab, it causes it to squeak on purpose to let you know it's time to replace the brakes. You probably have 2 or 3 months when you hear that, so you have time, but get them replaced, because after the squeak comes the grind. When you hear grinding, you're destroying the brake rotors, and now instead of just possibly replacing pads, now you're going to have to replace pads and rotors, and that just got more expensive, especially if you have a garage do it. Brakes are super easy to replace on most vehicles, and overall they're not that expensive. Even if you have to pay $300, $400, $500 for your average car for a brake job, you're generally going to have to do that every maybe 4 or 5 years, depending on where you live. Mountainous area, maybe a little bit more often. But don't skimp on quality of parts either. If they ask you if you want the cheap metallic brake pads or the more expensive ceramic brake pads, get the ceramic ones. They will last longer. They will give you more stopping power, especially if you're going down hills, because the brakes don't fade and stop grabbing as quickly. But the ceramic pads don't leave the dust on your rims that can really look ugly and actually eat into your rims and destroy your rims too. So the coating on the rims. They're usually just a few bucks more. These days the ceramic pads are super cheap, so always go with those. And if you feel pulsing or something like that, that means the rotor is probably worn unevenly or developed hot spots, so it's time to get that replaced. Especially if you're in rain or snow, the pulsing can cause the pads to grab unevenly on each side, and can actually, if one side's grabbing harder than the other, toss you into a spin when you're trying to brake hard. So don't do that. If you feel the pulsing and things like that, get the brakes replaced. Last thing is really just keep yourself some supplies in the car. Throw you some Kleenex in there, because you never know when you need to blow your nose. Maybe a partial roll, when your toilet paper roll gets down kind of small, throw that in the glove compartment or in that storage compartment in the back. If your car uses oil, keep an extra quart of oil in the car. Keep a knife in there, a cigarette lighter, in case you get out somewhere and for some reason you don't have anybody coming, it's cold, and you need to make a fire or something. Some sunglasses, a flashlight, a blanket, whatever else you feel is important. Around here, especially in the spring, when the mosquitoes come out, they come out all at once. So I keep mosquito repellent. I keep sunblock, because we do a lot of stuff outside, and I always want to make sure I've got sunblock with me so I can protect my skin or my kid's skin. Little things like that, just whatever you think you might need. Aspirin. I can't count the number of times I've gotten out and somebody in the car is like, "Oh man, I've got a headache." Well, you haven't drank enough water, so, or whatever, it's a hot day, so here, drink some water, toss down a couple of aspirin, have a snack to go with it so the aspirin doesn't upset your tummy, and in an hour you'll be back to normal, or whatever. You just got a headache for whatever reason and you just want some aspirin. If you're in an area where you have tolls, throw a little bag of change in your car and keep it filled. Whatever. These are all little things that you can do to help make your driving experience better. So I know I've rambled a bit here, but owning a car and having a new car is an experience to be enjoyed, and there's a lot to know. So hopefully these basic things will help you out. We'll go back through really quickly here. Keep it clean, inside and out. Check your oil, change it regularly. Check your tires, make sure you've got the right air pressure in them, and you check for uneven wear. When your tires get worn, replace them. Worn tires in the rain will act like a ski and ride up on top of that film of water instead of through the water, and you can lose control and wreck really quickly, and you don't always have to be going very fast to do this. It's called hydroplaning, and you can do this at speeds as low as 30 miles per hour. But just driving through your own neighborhood, this can happen. Turn that radio off and listen to the sounds that your car makes. Don't ignore any kind of warning lights on the car. Make sure you find out what that warning light means and address it immediately. Check your wipers and your wiper fluid. Make sure your brakes are always in good shape, and keep those little handy items in your car. That's going to make your driving experience a whole lot better. So hopefully this has been helpful to you. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll try my best to answer them. I know there's things I might have missed, so in the comments, if you have constructive items that you can add to this, that you as a first-time owner have found works well for you, go for it. Oh, one other thing I did forget though, as you go around the car, make sure all the lights work too. Your headlights, your tail lights, and everything. A lot of your new cars will tell you when you've got a bulb burnout. Bulbs are cheap. Go replace them. A lot of times an auto place, if you buy the bulbs at an auto store, they'll help you replace them if they're not that busy. So, and most of them are not hard to replace. But if you're trying to stop and somebody can't see you're stopping because your brake lights are burnt out, that's generally not going to end up well. So, there you go, guys. Go out, enjoy your driving, enjoy your first car. Congratulations on car ownership, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Oh, and a bonus item, I almost completely forgot, but there's something else very important you want to do, and that is check and change the air filter regularly. Air coming in off the road has a lot of dirt in it, especially if you live in areas with dirt road, high amounts of construction, things like that. That dirt, if it gets into your engine, acts like sandpaper and will wear your engine out very quickly. Again, new engines are a lot more expensive than a filter. Change your filter at least once a year. If you live on a dirt road, check it. You may need to change it more often. I've known people that live on dirt roads with lots of dust, or go hunting and things like that on back roads that have a lot of dirt on them, that have to change their air filters every 3 or 4 months. But generally about once a year is going to be a really good thing, a really good time. And it will really help protect. If your air filter starts to get clogged, it can't pull air into the engine, and your engine is going to perform poorly. You're going to get crappy gas mileage, and you're not going to have very much power. And when you're talking about a 1.8 liter engine with 230,000 miles on it, a little lost power on that thing is a big deal. So I want all the power I can get out of it. If some cars are really easy to check and change the air filter, some are not. If you don't know how, again, go to AutoZone or someplace like that. Ask them, if you buy an air filter, if they will help you change it. Most of these places will say yes. After a couple of times having them show you how to do it, chances are you'll be able to do it yourself, but it's super cheap. Air filters, most of the time, are going to be 20 bucks or less. And even if they are a little bit more, that is really big. So there are things you have to do to maintain your car. Yes, I know when you buy a car, you don't know all of this in advance, but these overall are very inexpensive items. You know, oil changes, air filters, minor stuff like that will help make sure your engine lasts a long time and you'll have a good driving experience for a long time. So sorry I forgot that one, but that's an important one I wanted to add in for you guys. See you later.